What's up, everyone? You are tuned in to the Late Night Channel Eeps. I'm your host, EEPMON, episode 67. And I would just like to make a note that if you like and enjoy my content, please like and subscribe. It would much be appreciated, and it gets the YouTube algorithm to spread the news for those who are interested in knowing more about artists and the life of a creative entrepreneur. That's right. So thank you very much. Um, Today, you know, really sort of like off topic, but I want to talk about video games. Well, not so much about video games, but why I kind of stopped playing video games. Uh, you know, don't get me wrong. I played. I was a Nintendo fanatic. Okay, I in my youth, I had almost every Nintendo system, and I would play these games hours and hours and hours, right? Like I would always like I get back home, the first thing I do, gotta play video games. Saturday mornings, gotta play video games. And it's just sort of like I think part of it is, of course, my interest in technology started at an early age. I told you how I was so obsessed with, knowing exactly how many pixels Mario was, and I would get a grid paper and a draw. So creatively speaking, I think it was amazing, and it inspired me. I think that it has shaped me to become who I am today as a digital artist, a digital creative entrepreneur, and I played a lot of games. Okay, but there was a switch. I find like I was during my later teen years where I started to play first person shooter games, right? And I think it was around college time that I was playing a lot of these games, but then I don't know about you, but for me, how I start to kind of slow down the gaming is whenever I finish playing a game, it was like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and I remember there was a time where I just didn't feel right. I didn't feel good. I was like, I play these games, they're fun at the beginning, but then you get beaten, people beat you, and there's just a lot of toxicity on these online platforms. So when I finish a game, I get frustrated, I get mad, but I'm really competitive, even in video games. Like I get so competitive, I get so frustrated and so annoyed. And overall, for me, my experience, I just wasn't happy. Okay, I wasn't happy at all after I played these games, and let alone, um, like playing these games. I It kind of butt heads with my reality. Like, what are these games other than hand-eye coordination? I guess playing Street Fighter or something. But how, in my path, in my world, how are these games contributing to the development of my well-being as a person, as a professional, as a career, to build my uh, artist portfolio, or just sort of like securing a job, putting on a resume, or building your resume? How are my hours being spent? Uh, could be spent instead of playing video games hours on end every day. And so that sort of was the first indicators that I needed to do a shift. Something needed to change. Because then I also realized, like, a new version of this game comes out, version 2, version 3, super blah blah turbo version, and it's just basically the same regurgitated assets being updated, adding some little bells and whistles and new features, but literally the functionality of the game still is the same. So they would hype it up, get, oh, this is the next thing. Everyone's gonna be on this next new version of this video game, and everyone's gonna play on it. You have to play, or else you're gonna miss out. Like, so there's even FOMO in these gaming industries, right? Um, but then I kind of caught on. I was like, oh, I don't know. I just don't feel good. I feel kind of like, what am I doing, playing these games and getting so addicted to these platforms when I'm leveling up in these games, these surreal games, the RPG games. I'm leveling up. I'm telling my little group of friends, oh, I'm at level 99 with like HP of 9999 and MP of maxed out, and I have all the rare items. Haha, can you beat that? And I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, I don't know how that. Call me old school, but I'm not sure how that would really translate that into the real world. I mean, I guess I could put that on my resume, say that I achieved max level. Again, don't get me wrong, folks. I used to play so many games. I played this video game called Phoenix HD. It's an iOS game. It first came out on the iPhone 4, and it was one of the first top-down airplane shooter games. And they were it was the first 60 frames per second, I believe, top-down shooter game. It's super smooth, that was released on the iPhone 4. And I played that game so many times, to the point that I still hold the record number one position in the world for the most points of this game. And by the way, how many players are there? There are over 5.5 million players of this game, and I am number one in the world. No one has yet to beat it. No one has yet. So check out Phoenix HD on the iOS. You download it and just see who's number one. It's EEPMON.com. So I don't be wrong, man. I'm not like I'm not saying that I'm poo-pooing on the gaming industry and stuff, but I think that a lot of things in life require moderation. And I myself, a bit of a how do I say, in the camp that required that moderation, and I had to literally decided that I needed to stop doing it, because otherwise, like, how is that going to relate to my IRL, right? My real life. Now, granted, there are video game people, there's esports, or people that play and professionally, right? And they spend hours on end to practice. That's very, very niche, and that's, good on them. But of course, that's not my path. My path, I'm a creator, I'm an artist, taking reference to, of course, being aware and being and knowing what's happening in the trends of gaming industry, but to really be just putting your whole, how do I say it? Like, just putting your entire, one entire day, but just like putting amount of your time into a game every day, hours on end. I just don't. It doesn't sit well with me. I kind of feel sick. You know what I mean? It's kind of sickening. Everything in moderation, folks. Everything. Gaming, what you eat, what you indulge, the habits, the habits you have. Like, be aware of. Again, this is from my observation. This is what I think, but just be aware of the things that you do and things you do repeatedly, and then ask yourself if these things are improving your lifestyle, or is it otherwise. So yeah, I mean, so I still play the games, right? Recently I just played Brawl Stars with my nephew, and I only got into this game because my nephew started playing it. But I'm starting to feel like, I'm getting better and better and better at the game, but I'm starting to get that that same feeling of competitiveness. I'm like, like getting beaten, or when I win, it's great. Like these dopamine hits when you're like, when you win something, and when you lose, and you're like, oh, you want to play again. Um, but but now I'm much more mindful that, really, the reason why I like to think that part of the reason why I play this game or these type of games is because it's good R&D. It's good research and development for me. I want to know, and it's just what happens to align my creativity is like, what are the trends? What do people like? Why is this game very popular? What is it that makes it so unique and different than other games? So I'm playing this game more often now, Brawl Stars, and it turns out like there's a lot of things. There's actually This game is very calculative, very strategic in how they, um, how they uh, build their user base. Okay, uh, man, I'm very digressing. I'm just talking about video games and just sort of my observation in games. So it came like, how do I stop playing games to now observing how games are strategically, cater to specific demographics. But let's talk about Brawl Stars, for example, as one example. Okay, it's kind of like casino. If you ever been to a casino and you walk in and you hear the rings and the chimes and all the noise, and when you the freaking, you putting the slot machine and all these sounds, right? These sounds are actually strategically catered to have these sort of like like, lack of a better word, but audible dopamine hits, right? Because it sounds nice, it's short, there's something about the sound that keeps you locked in. Okay, now the habit of the slot machine itself, that is, again, it's like it's a feedback loop. It's conditioned for you to like wanting to, you know repetition, to pull the slot handle down to receive some outcome. Okay, now I'm not just saying Brawl Stars in general, but games kind of operate in that similar vein. The sounds that when you click the, proceed the game, like plus start, or proceed, or when you exit, or when you're like, um like a new stage unveiled, to click to get your XP, and all the experience points go into that corner, and all this, hear the trilling noise. It's so very similar to how you would hear in a casino. Okay. um and of course, there's this plethora of different game modes. There's so many different game modes: five versus five, dual, single mode. There's like the soccer mode. All these different modes. It's interesting. And of course, each character, you could buff them up. There's all these different levels, different unlockables, different outcomes, different attire, all these things. So so you have these different processes. Okay, stages, character development, sound effects, different skins, different drops, all these things. Now you multiply that by, let's say, hypothetically, there are 20 characters in the game. Hypothetically, there are 20 different game modes. Hypothetically, there are like five different skins per character. You have a recipe for huge permutation of outcomes and possibilities to continue to keep these variations and gamifications consistent for, the nonstop dopamine hits. Basically, it's like, how do we continue to engage at high level doses to entice and encourage players? You know, that's the name of the game, folks, and that's exactly how I felt when I was a kid. Right? It's just water. Um, and so there's so many uh, so much affinity, similarities to games. It's gamification. Casino is a gamification, right? Just that they're playing for real money and all that. So it's fascinating. It's fascinating. So I play this game, and I'm learning a lot because, in fact, a lot of the like there's a lot of things to learn from that system, and I'm learning a lot and how I can apply that to my branding, right? I mean, it's almost it's actually not a new concept, right? This stuff is not new. Games is not a new thing, but games like Brawl Stars executed very well. Brawl Stars, Minecraft, Roblox, these type of games there's something about these games that really have a way to um, entice players to play. Is it addiction? I don't. Maybe I don't. I don't know. But there is certainly something called game addiction. So on that note, when you're for those who play these games, I think it's important to play in moderation. Just like anything in life, you know. Imagine you're like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You're having steak every day, three times, 3 meals a day. It's always steak. Now that's called like that's ridiculous, right? But health wise, I'm sure it'll decline real fast. Fast food every day, like breakfast, lunch, dinner. Imagine that. Beer every day, drinking alcohol every meal, right? That's excessive. Smoking all the time, very excessive. Like again, these are all these sort of like um, repetitions that require moderation. Um, because too much of one thing is never a good thing. It's basically what I'm saying. I don't even know what to call this title of this episode because I'm like all over the place with it. But perhaps it'd be something about everything in moderation, folks. Everything. Um. But yeah, I just I even though I enjoy games, but the real question for me nowadays is how is what I'm like maybe I'm just too focused on my craft. I'm like, okay, I'm playing these things. How does that relate to my world? How does it relate to my career or as a creator? How can I is there if I'm learning a lot from these games, how can I can apply that to Eatverse? How can I apply it to my brand? You know? So I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that geez, turn on Siri is kind of weird. Um, basically, I'm kind of like on the fence with like of playing too much video games, I guess. But everything in moderation. Anywho, that was my little spiel, my little rant about these things. Um, I just feel that I keep on saying that, but it's important to ensure that, at least for me, when I'm doing something, if I'm doing something that's too excessive, I have to ask myself. I got to stop and go ask myself, like, is this really good for me? Is this what I want? Do I really need to indulge in XYZ? How's that going to affect me in the long run? You know, that's important. We have to check ourselves, folks. That's right. Anyway, I hope you like my little rant. I keep on saying that, but it's true. And if you like, I'm just tired, folks. I'm just repeating myself like a broken record. Like, subscribe, and have a great evening, have a great afternoon, and have a great morning wherever you are in the world. This is the EEPMON late night chat Eves. I'm just really tired. Episode 67. I'll speak to you tomorrow. Have a great blah, blah, blah. Bye bye.